I stood on the bridge of the Endeavour, staring into the swirling colors of a nearby nebula. It was a breathtaking sight. The vibrant hues of violet and turquoise danced together, illuminated by the distant stars. I often found solace in moments like this, where the vastness of space felt both daunting and beautiful. The hum of the ship's systems provided a comforting backdrop, a reminder that we were not just drifting through the cosmos, but were on a mission. "Captain, we're receiving a transmission from the Galactic Council," my first officer, Alex, announced, pulling me from my reverie. His voice was steady, but I could sense an underlying tension. The Council had been on edge lately, their skepticism about humanity's adaptability casting a long shadow over our missions. "On screen," I said, straightening my posture. The view screen flickered to life, revealing a stern-looking representative of the Council. Her silver hair contrasted sharply with her dark uniform, and her piercing gaze seemed to assess me more than the situation at hand. "Captain Carter," she began, her voice clipped and formal. "We have received reports of unusual fluctuations in life signs on an Earth-like planet designated as KX-217. We require your team to investigate." I raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "KX-217? What do we know about it?" "Preliminary scans suggest a temperate climate and diverse biosphere. However, there are conflicting data points regarding its atmosphere and potential hazards. We believe it warrants further examination." I could feel the weight of her skepticism even through the screen. "And you think we're the right crew for this job?" "Your record speaks for itself, Captain. Despite Earth's reputation as a dangerous and inhospitable world, you and your crew have demonstrated remarkable adaptability. However, do proceed with caution. We have our doubts about the planet's safety." "Understood. We'll prepare for departure immediately," I replied, keeping my tone professional despite the flicker of defiance in my chest. We were more than survivors of a harsh world. We were explorers, driven by the desire to uncover the mysteries of the universe. As the transmission ended, I turned to my crew, who were already bustling about the bridge, preparing for the next phase of our mission. Jake Thompson, our engineer, was hunched over a console, his fingers flying across the keys as he ran diagnostics on our systems. "Hey Jake," I called, and he looked up, his expression a mix of excitement and mischief. "Captain, you won't believe the readings I just pulled up. This planet has some seriously interesting electromagnetic activity. It's like it's alive in its own way." "Just make sure it stays alive when we get there," I replied with a smirk. "We've got a job to do." Dr. Mia Chun, our xenobiologist, entered the bridge just then, her eyes alight with curiosity. "Did I hear something about an Earth-like planet? This could be a significant find. What do we know about its biosphere?" "Not much yet," I admitted. "Just that there are fluctuations in life signs." I paused, gauging her reaction. The Council wants us to investigate, but they've expressed their doubts about human adaptability. Mia crossed her arms, her brow furrowing in thought. "Doubtful? They haven't walked in our shoes. Earth is a crucible of chaos, and we've thrived in it. We're more than just survivors, we're resilient." Jake chimed in, "Exactly. I mean, look at our history. From the Ice Age to the Space Age, we've adapted, evolved. It's what we do best." "True," I said, feeling a surge of pride for my crew. "But we can't ignore the challenges ahead. If this planet is anything like Earth, we need to be prepared for the unexpected." "Just like our ancestors," Mia added with a wistful smile. "They faced predators, natural disasters, and yet they forged ahead. We're no different." With a nod, I took in the determination etched on their faces. "Allricht, team. Let's gather what we need and prepare for departure. We'll show the Council that humanity is not to be underestimated." The crew sprang into action, and I felt a familiar thrill course through me. The anticipation of exploration, the unknown challenges that lay ahead, it was intoxicating. As I watched them work, I couldn't help but reflect on what it meant to be human in a universe filled with life, both familiar and alien. The Endeavour hummed as we initiated our pre-jump procedures, the ship readying itself for hyperspace travel. I took a moment to gaze out at the nebula one last time, its beauty reminding me of the delicate balance of life. I was determined to prove that we were more than mere survivors. We were pioneers. "Hyperspace jump in 3, 2, 1. Engaging." Jake called out, and the stars outside stretched into lines of light as the ship surged forward. As we sailed through hyperspace, The familiar rush of energy enveloped me. I could almost feel the pulse of the universe around us, a reminder that we were part of something much larger. Yet, beneath the excitement lingered a sense of foreboding. What awaited us on KX-217? Would we find a paradise or a perilous trap? Captain, Alex's voice broke into my thoughts. We're approaching the coordinates for KX-217. Preparing for exit in 10 seconds. I took a deep breath, steeling myself for what lay ahead. Everyone, let's keep our wits about us. We don't know what we'll find down there. As the countdown reached 0, the ship exited hyperspace, and KX-217 materialized before us. It was a beautiful sight, a blue-green planet, dotted with swirling white clouds. A sense of wonder washed over me, but it was quickly tempered by the Council's warnings. Jake, run a full scan of the planet, I ordered, my eyes glued to the view screen. Mia, prepare for possible contact with any life forms. On it. Jake replied, his fingers dancing over the controls. Mia nodded, a determined smile on her face. I'm ready to make first contact, whatever it may be. As we prepared for our descent, I couldn't shake the feeling that we were being watched. A chill ran down my spine, but I shrugged it off. After all, we were explorers, and the universe had its secrets. It was time to uncover them. With the crew focused and the ship steady, I felt a surge of hope. This was our moment to shine, to prove that humanity could thrive beyond the chaos of Earth. As we began our approach to the planet's surface, I silently vowed to embrace whatever challenges lay ahead. The cosmos was calling, and we were ready to answer. The Endeavour settled onto the surface of Nereth with a muted thud, the vibrations reverberating through the ship's hull. I took a deep breath, the faint scent of alien vegetation wafting through the airlock as the crew prepared to disembark. My heart raced with a blend of excitement and trepidation. This was a chance not just for exploration, but to make a mark on the galaxy. A chance to prove that humanity could thrive anywhere, even on a planet that could easily be a death trap. Captain, we're green across the board, Jake Thompson, our engineer, announced from the control panel. He was the kind of guy who could fix anything with a touch of ingenuity and a bit of duct tape. His enthusiasm was contagious, and I appreciated that now more than ever. Ready when you are. All right, team, I said, turning to face the crew gathered behind me. Let's show Nereth what we're capable of. Stay sharp, and remember, we don't know what's out there. As the airlock hissed open, we stepped onto the surface of Nereth. Sunlight bathed the landscape in warm colors, illuminating a breathtaking panorama of vibrant flora and fauna. Strange trees twisted toward the sky, their leaves shimmering in hues I had never seen before. Exotic flowers bloomed all around us, their petals unfurling like delicate hands reaching for the warmth of the sun. Wow, Mia-chan whispered, her voice barely above a breath. She knelt next to a cluster of iridescent flowers, studying them with the fascination of a child. This is incredible. I've never seen anything like it. Just be careful, I cautioned, scanning our surroundings. We might not be the only ones here. As if to emphasize my point, a low growl echoed from the shadows of the trees. We froze, our eyes darting toward the sound. From behind the foliage, a creature emerged. It was sleek and muscular, with scales that glimmered in the light like polished gemstones. Its eyes, sharp and predatory, assessed us with an unsettling intelligence. Back up slowly. Jake hissed, his voice steady even as adrenaline coursed through me. The creature's nostrils flared, and it took a step forward, its claws digging into the earth. I felt my heart race as it approached, but instead of lunging, it paused, as if waiting for us to make a move. I think it's just curious, Mia said, her voice barely above a whisper. Let's not provoke it. Curious? Or calculating? I muttered under my breath, my instincts screaming at me to retreat. Jake, can you scan it? On it. He activated his handheld device, its screen lighting up with data. The creature snorted, its gaze fixed on us, and I could almost feel the tension crackling in the air. Looks like a carnivorous predator, but it's not showing any aggressive behavior. At least not yet, Jake reported, his brow furrowed in concentration. I wouldn't let your guard down, though. I nodded, my instincts still on high alert. Let's keep moving. We need to gather data and find a safe spot to set up camp. As we walked, the lush landscape began to show signs of danger. Evidence of predation was everywhere: shredded vegetation, claw marks on trees, and bones, small but unmistakable, scattered across the ground. Each discovery heightened my sense of unease, but I refused to let it show. If we were going to gain the respect of the galaxy, we needed to embrace the challenge. "Captain, over here," Mia called, her voice tinged with excitement. She pointed to a clearing ahead where an intricate structure jutted from the ground, half buried in the earth. "I think I've found something." We approached cautiously, and as we got closer, I realized it was some form of ancient technology, an entrance to what appeared to be an underground facility. The architecture was sophisticated, unlike anything I had seen on Earth, with strange glyphs carved into the surface. "Where do you think it leads?" Jake asked, his eyes wide with awe. "Only one way to find out," I replied, a mix of apprehension and curiosity swirling within me. "Let's see what secrets Nereth is hiding." As we descended into the facility, the air grew cooler, and the faint hum of machinery resonated in the walls. Mia's eyes sparkled with intrigue as she scanned the area, her scientific curiosity igniting a fire within her. "Look at this," she exclaimed, pointing to a console covered in dust. "If I can get it operational, we might learn more about the civilization that built this place." "Be careful," I warned. "We don't know if activating anything could trigger a defense mechanism or something worse." "Just give me a moment," she replied, her fingers dancing over the controls. The screen flickered to life, casting a dim glow around us. "Hold on, I think I can access the mainframe. There should be data logs about the planet, its inhabitants." Mia's voice trailed off as she focused intently on the screen. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed from outside, jolting us from our task. "What the hell was that?" Jake asked, his eyes wide with alarm. "Let's go check it out," I urged, my heart racing. We rushed back to the surface, our senses heightened. As we emerged from the underground facility, the beauty of Nereth was shattered. One of our crew members, Alex, was missing, and in his place lay a gruesome scene. A massive creature, unlike anything we had encountered, loomed over the area, blood dripping from its jaws. "Alex!" I shouted, panic seizing my chest. "Where is he?" The creature turned, its gaze locking onto us, and I could see the unmistakable glint of intelligence in its eyes. It growled, and I felt the primal instinct to flee kick in, but I fought it down. "Stay together," I commanded, adrenaline surging. "Jake, Mia, flank me. We need to." Before I could finish, the creature lunged, and I barely managed to duck out of the way. "Run!" I yelled as we scattered, my heart pounding in my chest. "Captain, we have to find Alex." Mia shouted over her shoulder, fear etched across her face. "We will, but we need to survive first," I replied, my voice firm despite the chaos around us. As we dodged and weaved through the trees, I couldn't help but feel the weight of the responsibility on my shoulders. I had led us here, and now my decisions could cost lives. I steadied my breath, channeling my fear into determination. If I was going to lead my crew through this nightmare, I needed to stay focused. "Over here," Jake yelled, pointing toward a narrow ravine. We sprinted toward the opening, hoping it would provide some shelter. As we ducked inside, I felt a sense of relief wash over me, but it was short-lived. "Captain," Mia panted, her eyes wide. "What do we do now?" I glanced back toward the entrance, the growls of the creature echoing in the distance. "We regroup, strategize, and find Alex. We can't leave anyone behind." The weight of my words settled heavily in the air. We were in an alien world, surrounded by dangers we could barely comprehend. But one thing was clear: we were in this together. And together, we would face whatever challenges came our way. As the sun dipped below the horizon on Nereth, the vibrant landscape transformed into a dreamscape of shadows and whispers. The air grew cooler, and the sounds of the day faded into a soft symphony of nocturnal creatures awakening to their dominion. I sat cross-legged on the ground, surrounded by my crew, as we gathered around the flickering flames of the fire we had built. The warm glow illuminated our faces, casting long shadows that danced against the backdrop of towering trees. "All right, who's first?" I asked, breaking the silence that enveloped us. My voice felt small against the vastness of the universe, yet it was a comfort amidst the uncertainty we faced. Memories of Earth washed over me, a world that had forged resilience in its inhabitants through trials and tribulations. Jake, our tech-savvy engineer with an insatiable curiosity, leaned forward, his eyes bright with the firelight. "I'll go. You all know my parents were part of the first wave of settlers in the asteroid belt. They had to fight tooth and nail to make something of their lives among the rocks. But what you don't know is that my dad used to tell me stories about the Great Quake of '89. Not the one you think, the one that shook the colonies. It was chaos. Buildings crumbled. Families were torn apart. Yet, in the midst of that destruction, I saw the best of humanity. Neighbors helping neighbors, strangers becoming friends. That's when I knew we could survive anything." His story hung in the air, a testament to the resilience that defined us. I could see the crew nodding, each of us reflecting on our own experiences. "Your father was right, Jake," Mia chimed in, her voice soft yet resolute. "I grew up in a small village in China, where every year, the monsoons would threaten to flood our homes. I remember one season when the river swelled beyond its banks. The entire community came together, sandbagging and reinforcing the levees. It was exhausting work, but we did it. We saved our village. That's when I learned that even in the face of nature's fury, we are capable of greatness." Her words stirred something deep within me. I thought about my own past, the struggles I faced growing up in a world that seemed determined to crush the spirit of its inhabitants. "I think about my childhood in the States," I said, my voice steady. "I remember the protests, the riots, the fights for equality. There were times when I felt like giving up, but it was the passion, the fire in the hearts of those around me that kept me going. We've always fought for a better future, even when the odds were stacked against us." A silence fell over the group, each of us lost in our memories, the flickering flames mirroring the flickers of hope and despair we had all encountered. Then, as if on cue, Leo, our biologist with a penchant for the dramatic, spoke up. "You all make it sound so easy. Yet, we've also faced our fair share of failures. I remember my first research expedition. We were studying a new species of plant, convinced it would revolutionize medicine. We poured our hearts into it, only to discover it was toxic. We lost everything, the funding, the trust of our peers. But you know what? That failure taught me more than any success ever could. It showed me the importance of resilience and adaptability." "Exactly," I replied, feeling a sense of camaraderie wash over us. "Every setback, every hard-fought battle has shaped who we are as a species. We are survivors, not just of our planet's chaos, but of ourselves." Jake tossed a twig into the fire, sending sparks soaring into the night sky. "That's why I think we can handle whatever this planet throws at us. We've faced our demons and emerged stronger. We can navigate whatever danger lurks in the shadows." As the flames crackled and popped, we continued to share stories, each one unveiling a piece of our collective spirit. But the weight of the unknown pressed heavily upon us. It was a reminder that while we had thrived in our past, the present was far more precarious. The night deepened, and the conversation shifted as my mind wandered back to the mission at hand. We need to keep our guard up. This planet has shown us its beauty, but it also hides its dangers. We must respect the Narathians and their home. Mia nodded thoughtfully. It's crucial we understand their history. We don't want to repeat the mistakes of the past. This planet has seen conflict before, and we're walking into the middle of it. The fire flickered as if in agreement, casting long shadows that seemed to stretch towards the stars. My thoughts drifted to the ancient technology Jake had discovered earlier that day. The remnants of a civilization long gone whispered secrets I was desperate to uncover. "We need to explore more tomorrow," I said, my voice firm. "There are truths here that could change everything." As we settled in for the night, the sounds of the forest enveloped us, a lullaby of rustling leaves and distant calls. I closed my eyes, allowing the warmth of the fire to seep into my bones, but sleep eluded me. The weight of our discovery loomed large in my mind. What horrors had unfolded in the past? What consequences awaited us if we dug too deep? The night wore on, and soon I found myself wandering the periphery of our camp, drawn by an unseen force. I needed to calm my racing thoughts, to find solace in the stillness of the night. The stars above twinkled like distant diamonds, a reminder of the vastness of the universe and the insignificance of my worries. Suddenly, a rustle in the bushes caught my attention, and I froze. My heart raced as I strained to hear any further sounds. The shadows shifted, and I felt an instinctual pull deep within me. "Is anyone there?" I called out, my voice barely above a whisper. Silence enveloped me, thick and palpable. I took a cautious step forward, my instincts kicking in. I was the captain. I had to protect my crew, even from the unseen. Just as I turned to head back to the fire, a figure emerged from the darkness, skin glowing faintly under the starlight. "Who are you?" I asked, my voice steadier than I felt. The figure stepped closer, revealing delicate features that seemed both alien and familiar. "Iam Kaelor, Aneratian. We've watched you since your arrival. You tread on sacred ground." My heart raced, a mixture of fear and fascination coursing through me. "We mean no harm. We seek to understand." Kaelor tilted their head, eyes glimmering with ancient wisdom. "Understanding comes with a price. The past is not easily forgotten, and your presence stirs echoes of conflict long buried. What you seek may not be what you wish to find." A chill ran down my spine. The weight of their words hung in the air like a storm cloud waiting to break. "We are here to learn, to help. We don't want to repeat history." Kaelor's gaze pierced through me, searching my soul. "Then tread carefully, Captain. The shadows of the past can consume even the brightest of futures." With that, Kaelor vanished back into the darkness, leaving me with lingering questions and a sense of foreboding. I returned to the fire, my mind racing with possibilities. The Nerathians had a history steeped in conflict, and we were now part of that narrative. "Captain." Mia's voice broke through my thoughts as I settled back down. "You look pale. What happened?" I hesitated, contemplating how much to share. "I just spoke to one of the Nerathians. They warned us of the shadows of the past." Jake's brows furrowed. "What do you mean?" "They're wary of us, and I think we need to be cautious. There's more to this planet than we understand," I said, my voice steady. "Tomorrow, we'll dig deeper and uncover the truth, but we must remain vigilant. We are not just explorers, we are stewards of this world now." The crew nodded, a sense of shared purpose igniting between us. We were all aware that the journey ahead would not be easy, but together, we were ready to face whatever challenges awaited us. The fire crackled softly, a beacon of hope in the encroaching darkness. Tomorrow would bring new discoveries, new dangers, and the possibility of unveiling the truth buried beneath the surface of Nereth. As the sun dipped below the horizon of Nereth, casting an orange glow over the dense foliage, I stood before the assembled Nerathian leaders, my heart pounding in my chest. The air was thick with tension, and I could feel the weight of their piercing gazes. They regarded us not as explorers but as invaders, a sentiment I couldn't entirely dismiss. After all, we had barged into their world, uninvited and unannounced. Captain Carter, one of the Nerathian leaders, a tall figure cloaked in iridescent scales, spoke. His voice was a low rumble, echoing through the clearing. "You trespass upon sacred ground. The presence of your kind is an affront to our heritage." I took a deep breath, looking from one wary face to another. "We mean no harm. Our intentions are peaceful. We're here to learn, to understand." "The last time outsiders came with words of peace, they brought destruction," another leader snapped, her eyes narrowing. "You cannot expect us to trust you." "Trust must be earned," I replied, feeling the weight of my crew's eyes on me. "But destruction is not what we seek. We came to explore, to share knowledge." "Knowledge?" the first leader interrupted, his voice rising. "What do you know of our struggles, our history? You stumble into our realm, and you speak of knowledge as if it is a currency you possess." "I know enough," I countered, my resolve hardening. "I know that every civilization has faced challenges, that every race has a past filled with both light and darkness. We are not so different, you and I. Humanity has known war, loss, and conflict, but we have also known peace and cooperation." I could see the flicker of doubt in their eyes, but it was overshadowed by a deep-seated fear of what we represented, a potential return to their past wounds. "What do you know of our past battles?" the second leader pressed, her voice softer but no less accusatory. "I've seen your ruins, the remnants of a great civilization," I said, trying to appeal to their sense of history. "I've witnessed the scars of conflict, and I understand that you fight to protect your home. But fighting us will not bring you peace. Let us work together instead." The leaders huddled together, whispering among themselves. I could feel the tension building, a palpable energy crackling in the air as they debated. I glanced back at my crew, Jake, Mia, and the others were watching intently, their faces a mix of apprehension and hope. After what felt like an eternity, the first leader stepped forward. "We will allow you to stay for now. But know this, should you prove to be a threat, we will not hesitate to defend our home. The past is a warning we do not ignore." The relief that washed over me was fleeting. I knew this was only the beginning. Trust would take time, and the challenges ahead were far from over. Just as I was about to address my crew, a sudden tremor shook the ground beneath us. The leaves rustled violently, and I stumbled, catching myself on a nearby tree. What was that? I shouted, scanning the area for any signs of danger. The Narathians exchanged alarmed glances, their earlier bravado dissipating. "An earthquake," Mia suggested, her eyes wide with concern. "This planet is unstable." Before I could respond, Jake stepped forward, his face pale. "I think I might know what caused that." He hesitated, then continued, "While we were exploring earlier, I found some ancient technology buried under the ruins. I thought it was dormant, but—" "What did you do?" I interrupted, panic rising in my chest. "Jake, you didn't activate anything, did you?" He looked guilty, his eyes darting away. "I might have pressed a few buttons, just to see if it would respond. I didn't think it would actually." The ground shook again, more violently this time, sending us all sprawling. The Narathians let out a series of alarmed cries, their expressions shifting from anger to fear. "You brought this upon us," one of them accused, pointing a clawed finger at Jake. "No, I didn't mean to," Jake shouted, scrambling to his feet. "I was just trying to." "Enough," I yelled, trying to assert control over the chaos. "We need to regroup. We can't let this escalate. We have to find shelter and figure out what's going on." The Narathians were hesitant, their distrust evident. "Your kind has caused enough destruction already," the second leader spat, backing away. "We will not risk our lives for you." But before I could argue, another tremor hit, stronger than the last. The ground split open, a deep fissure forming before us. "We need to move," I shouted, grabbing Mia's arm and pulling her toward the endeavor. "Now." The Narathians hesitated, glancing at one another, but the urgency in my voice cut through their fear. They began to retreat, their instincts for survival kicking in. As we sprinted toward our ship, I could hear the ground cracking and the distant roar of something powerful beneath us. Jake was at my side, his face pale. "I didn't mean for this to happen. I just thought. Save it for later." I snapped, my frustration boiling over. "We need to focus on getting everyone to safety first." As we reached the Endeavor, I could see the chaos unfolding around us. My crew was already preparing the ship for takeoff, but the seismic activity was causing the ground to shift dangerously. "Get us ready for launch," I ordered, glancing back at the retreating Narathians. "We can't leave without them." Mia nodded, already communicating with the crew over the comms. "We can't risk staying here much longer. The longer we wait, the worse it gets." "Captain," Jake yelled as he pointed to the sky. "Look." I directed my gaze upwards, and my stomach dropped. Dark clouds were forming, swirling ominously above us, and flashes of energy crackled through the air. This isn't just an earthquake, I realized, dread pooling in my gut. Something is destabilizing the planet. Then we need to move. Mia urged, her voice urgent. If we're caught in the middle of this, we won't survive. I turned back to the ship, adrenaline surging through me. Everyone, get on board. I shouted, urging the Narathians to hurry. We can help you. Some of them hesitated, their instincts battling against their fear of us. You'll betray us, one of the leaders warned, his voice filled with suspicion. Not if you come with us. I replied, my heart racing. We can get you to safety. We can work together. But you need to trust us. Slowly, one of the Narathians, a young one who seemed to be their scout, made his way toward the ship. I'll go, he said, his voice steady. But if you betray us. I won't, I promised, hoping my conviction would be enough to sway the others. We're in this together now. Let's go. As the young Narathian boarded, the ground shook again, more violently this time. We don't have time. I yelled, beckoning the others. Get on. With a few more reluctant glances exchanged among themselves, the rest of the Narathians finally began to make their way to the ship. In a matter of moments, they were all inside, and I quickly sealed the hatch.
Jake, get through airborne.
I ordered, my heart racing as I took my seat at the control panel. With a frantic burst of energy, Jake activated the engines, and the Endeavour shuddered to life. As we lifted off the ground, I glanced back at the planet's surface. The once vibrant landscape was now marred by cracks and upheaval, and in the distance, I could see the chaos unfurling. "Hold on!" Jake shouted, and I felt the ship lurch as we shot upwards. I could hear alarms blaring in the background, warning us of the damage the ship had sustained during our hasty departure. "Status report," I commanded, trying to keep my voice steady. "We're taking damage from the energy fluctuations." Jake replied, his fingers flying over the controls. "I'm trying to stabilize us, but it's..." "Do what you can," I urged, gripping the edges of my seat. "We have to reach a safe distance." As we ascended, the landscape of Nereth became a blur beneath us, and I felt a mix of relief and dread. We had escaped the immediate danger, but the uncertainty of our situation loomed heavily over us. The Narathians around me looked equally unsettled, their eyes wide and uncertain. "What now?" one of the Narathian leaders asked, his voice trembling. I swallowed hard, steeling myself for what lay ahead. "Now we regroup. We need to assess the damage and contact the Galactic Council. We're not out of this yet." The ship shuddered again, alarms ringing louder as Jake fought to maintain control. "Hold on. I'm losing stability," he shouted, his voice strained. My heart raced, and I glanced at the view screen. The once peaceful sky was now filled with violent storms, and I could sense that our troubles were far from over. The air was thick with tension as we gathered around the ship's remnants. Stranded on this enigmatic world, the Endeavour lay in disarray, its once sleek hull now marred by the chaos of our hasty escape. The sun hung low on the horizon, casting an orange hue over the alien landscape, reminding me of the twilight back on Earth. But this sunset was tainted with a sense of foreboding, as if the planet itself was watching and waiting. "All right, team, let's focus," I said, trying to sound resolute despite the dread creeping into my voice. "Jake, how bad is it?" Jake knelt beside a tangle of wires, a small frown etched on his face. "Electronics are fried, Captain. I can fix the propulsion system, but we'll need to find a power source. The energy cells are shot." His hands moved deftly, fingers dancing over the damaged components, but I could see the frustration brewing beneath his calm exterior. Dr. Chun, ever the pragmatic optimist, chimed in. "What about the resources we gathered earlier? The local flora, some of it has properties that might help us." She glanced at Jake, her eyes sparkling with determination. "If we can extract energy from those plants, it could give us the boost we need." "Right," I nodded, heartened by her fervor. "Let's split into teams. Dr. Chun, you and Jake will scour the nearby area for those plants. I'll coordinate with the rest of the crew to assess our supplies and see what we can salvage from the ship." The urgency of our situation compelled me to act decisively, but uncertainty gnawed at me. Would we even be able to repair the ship? As Jake and Mia prepared to head out, I caught a glimpse of the camaraderie developing between them. They had bonded over shared experiences, their contrasting strengths melding into an effective partnership. "Stay close," I warned, concern threading through my voice. "We don't know what else is lurking out there." With a quick nod, they set off, disappearing into the dense underbrush. I turned back to the ship, where the air hummed with the sound of my crew rummaging through the debris. I joined a few others, rummaging through what remained of our supplies. "Captain," said Rhea, one of my communications officers, her brow creased with worry. "I can't get any signals through. It's like we're completely cut off." My heart sank. We'd already lost contact with the Galactic Council, and now it seemed we were on our own. "We'll figure it out," I assured her. "Let's focus on getting the Endeavour functional again. We need to be ready for whatever comes next." Hours slipped by, the sun dipping lower as we worked tirelessly, sweat mingling with the dirt on our brows. The atmosphere grew heavier, as if the very ground beneath us was aware of our plight. Just as I was about to call for a break, Jake and Mia returned, their arms laden with strange bioluminescent plants. "Captain, you won't believe this," Jake exclaimed, his voice tinged with excitement. These plants can produce a significant energy output. If we can harness it, we might just have enough to power the ship's auxiliary systems. I felt a surge of hope. Let's get to work then. Mia, can you assist Jake in setting up a makeshift generator? We need to maximize our resources. As they dove into their work, I took a moment to observe the landscape around us. The vibrant colors of the flora contrasted sharply with the ominous shadows of the fortress we had stumbled upon earlier. It loomed in the distance, a constant reminder of the dangers hidden within Nereth. We need to scout that fortress, I said to Rhea, who had been watching me closely. There's too much we don't know about this planet, and we can't afford to be caught off guard again. Are you sure that's a good idea? She hesitated, glancing at the structure. It could be crawling with Nerathians. We don't have a choice, I replied, the weight of leadership heavy on my shoulders. We need to understand the threat we're facing, and if there's a chance we can find a way to defend ourselves, we have to explore it. With a reluctant nod, Rhea followed me as I led the way towards the fortress. The closer we got, the more I felt the atmosphere shift. An oppressive energy surrounded the place, as if it were alive and aware of our approach. My heart raced, a primal instinct warning me to turn back, but I pressed on. As we neared the entrance, the air grew colder, and I could hear the faint echoes of voices within. Listen, I whispered to Rhea, motioning for her to be quiet. The voices were low, murmuring in a language I couldn't quite understand, but the tone was unmistakably hostile. We should go back, she urged, her eyes wide. This isn't worth it. But my curiosity outweighed my fear. Wait here, I instructed, slipping into the shadows. I moved cautiously, peering around a corner to catch a glimpse of what lay inside. What I saw made my blood run cold. A group of Nerathians stood around a massive console, their faces twisted with anger. They were discussing something: plans, strategies, weapons. I could see glimpses of the technology they wielded, and my heart sank. This wasn't just a fortress, it was a command center. Suddenly, one of them caught sight of me. Panic surged through me, and I ducked back, my heart racing. We need to go, I whispered urgently to Rhea, who was still waiting outside. Now. We retreated quickly, adrenaline fueling our escape. As we dashed back toward the ship, I couldn't shake the feeling that we were running out of time. The Nerathians would soon realize that we had intruded, and I feared what they would do next. Back at the Endeavor, Jake and Mia had made progress, their makeshift generator humming with energy. We're almost there, Captain. Jake called out, his face lit up with exhilaration. Just a bit more, and we'll have enough power to start the engines. Good, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. But we need to hurry. I think we've stirred up some trouble. The urgency in my voice drew the crew's attention, and they worked faster, their movements fueled by the fear of what might come next. As I helped tighten bolts and connect wires, I stole glances at the horizon. The fortress loomed, a reminder of the precarious situation we found ourselves in. Just as we completed the repairs, the ground trembled beneath us, and a distant roar echoed through the air. I felt my heart drop. Everyone, to your stations. We're not alone. I shouted, adrenaline surging through my veins. The crew scrambled, taking positions as I activated the ship systems. I could see the Nerathians approaching, their figures dark against the setting sun, weapons drawn. Prepare for a possible conflict. I ordered, my pulse quickening. Captain, we need to leave. Rhea urged, fear palpable in her voice. We can't abandon the Endeavor, I replied, determination hardening my resolve. Not when we're so close to being able to escape. As the Nerathians advanced, I felt the weight of my crew's trust resting heavily on my shoulders. We had come to Nereth seeking answers, but now it seemed we were about to face the consequences of our intrusion. The reality of our situation set in, and I knew that this was only the beginning of a battle that would test our resolve and our humanity. And as I stood on the precipice of conflict, I understood that every world could be lethal, not just for those who tread carelessly, but for those who dared to seek the truth hidden in its depths. As the fortress crumbled around us, the air filled with the acrid scent of smoke and the thunderous sound of collapsing stone. I could feel the vibrations beneath my feet, a reminder of the chaos we had unleashed. The Endeavor was already in the air, hovering just above the wreckage, its engines whining as Jake fought to stabilize our ascent. He was at the helm, fingers flying over the controls, sweat beading on his brow. My heart raced as I glanced back at the ruins, knowing that we had just obliterated a piece of history, albeit a dangerous one.
Hold on.
Jake shouted, his voice strained as he wrestled with the ship's controls. We're not out of this yet. Yeah, no kidding, I muttered under my breath, gripping the armrest of my seat as the ship lurched. I could see Dr. Chun in the back, her face pale as she clutched a console, eyes wide with shock. We had just witnessed the destruction of a fortress that had stood for centuries, perhaps millennia, and the weight of our actions hung heavily in the air. Emily, we need to get out of here.
Now.
Jake urged, glancing at the readouts. The seismic activity is increasing. The ground is going to give way any minute.
Right.
Let's get out of here. I yelled, trying to inject some urgency into my voice. I turned to Dr. Chen. Mia, are you all right? She nodded, though her expression was still one of disbelief. I can't believe we did that, she whispered, her voice barely audible over the ship's engines. So many lives lost. All those artifacts. What if there was a way to save them? I felt a pang of guilt. We hadn't just destroyed a structure. We had obliterated the remnants of a civilization that had once thrived on this planet. We had no choice, I replied, though I could hear the uncertainty in my own voice. They were preparing to use that weapon against us. We had to stop it. Just then, the Endeavor surged upward, and we broke free from the grasp of the collapsing fortress. I let out a breath I didn't realize I was holding as we cleared the debris field. The lush landscape of Nereth stretched out below us, beautiful yet marred by the chaos we had caused. Jake, plot a course back to orbit, I commanded, my voice steadying. We need to regroup and assess the damage, both to the ship and to everything else. On it, he replied, his fingers flying over the navigation panel. As we ascended, I couldn't shake the feeling of dread that settled in my stomach. We had come to Nereth seeking knowledge, but what knowledge had we truly gained? Had we traded one danger for another? Once we reached the safety of orbit, I activated the ship sensors, scanning for any signs of the Nerathians. My heart sank as I realized that, despite our attempts to protect ourselves, we had left a wake of destruction behind us. Mia, I called, turning to her. Can you analyze the data we collected from the fortress? Maybe there's something we missed. Of course, she replied, her tone shifting from shock to determination. She moved to the console, and I watched as she began sifting through the information, her brow furrowed in concentration. As I stood there, I couldn't help but reflect on the events that had led us here. We were explorers, seekers of knowledge, yet we had become the very thing we sought to understand, invaders. Mia, what if we're the problem? I said suddenly, my voice a whisper. What if our presence here has only made things worse? She looked up, her eyes meeting mine. We can't know that for sure, Emily. But we can learn from this. We need to understand the Nerathians, their history, and their fears. Only then can we hope to make amends. Before I could respond, a warning klaxon blared through the ship, cutting through my thoughts. What now? I shouted, my heart racing. Unknown vessel approaching. Jake shouted from the pilot's seat. It's coming in fast. I rushed to his side, squinting at the view screen. A sleek, dark ship emerged from the shadows, its design unlike anything I had ever seen. My stomach twisted with unease. Is it Nerathian? Negative, Jake replied, his eyes narrowing as he attempted to identify the ship. It's human. The realization hit me like a punch. What do you mean, human? Before he could answer, a figure emerged from the shadows of the approaching ship, and I felt my breath catch in my throat. The figure was human, dressed in a uniform that seemed both familiar and foreign. Captain Emily Carter, the figure called out, their voice calm yet authoritative. I am Captain Elias Voss of the Astral Dawn. We need to talk. Talk. I echoed, incredulity washing over me. About what? About Earth, he replied, stepping closer to the view screen, his expression serious. And about your place in the galaxy. I exchanged glances with Jake and Mia, both of us equally bewildered. What do you mean? I asked, my voice low. This isn't just about Nereth, Captain Voss continued, his gaze unwavering. Earth was once part of a much larger interstellar community, a coalition that sought to protect worlds from threats beyond comprehension. But something happened. A fracture occurred, and humanity was left to fend for itself. Are you saying we're not alone? I pressed, my mind racing. Far from it, he replied, his voice steady. But what you've done here, destroying the fortress, could have dire consequences. That weapon was not meant for destruction. It was created as a means of defense against an impending cosmic threat, one that could endanger all worlds, including your own. I felt my heart race. Then what should we have done? Let them use it against us. No, but you needed to understand it, he said, his tone urgent. The Narathians were not just conquerors, they were protectors. And now, with their means of defense gone, they are vulnerable. Why should we trust you? Jake interjected, his skepticism clear. Because I'm here to help you, Captain Voss replied, his gaze steady. You have a choice. Join us and learn about the true nature of the universe, or remain ignorant and risk everything you hold dear. I felt the weight of his words, the gravity of the choice before us. My mind raced with possibilities, with the implications of what it meant to be human in this vast, chaotic galaxy. Join you. I repeated, disbelief creeping into my voice. What does that even mean? It means fighting together against the real enemy, he replied, leaning closer to the view screen. It means understanding that survival on Earth was only the beginning. It means embracing your potential as part of a greater whole. I glanced at Jake and Mia, their expressions reflecting my own turmoil. There was so much to process, so much at stake. But deep down, I knew that the universe was far more complex than I had ever imagined. As the shadowy silhouette of the astral dawn loomed closer, I felt a surge of determination. We had come to Nereth seeking answers, and perhaps, this was the answer we needed. Okay, I said, my voice steady. We'll listen. But know this, we won't blindly follow anyone. We need to be a part of this, not just pawns in a game we don't understand. Captain Voss nodded, a hint of respect in his eyes. That's all I ask. As he transmitted the coordinates of a nearby outpost where we could regroup, I felt a sense of purpose returning. The galaxy was vast, and our journey was far from over. We had stumbled into a greater conflict, and now it was time to confront the truth that lay beyond the stars. With the Endeavor and the Astral Dawn side by side, I couldn't help but feel that we were on the brink of something monumental, an awakening that would redefine what it meant to be human in a universe filled with both peril and promise.